Welcome to the 39th chapter of the book of Genesis, and we go back in this chapter to the story of Joseph, where we left off. He was hired by Potiphar, the spoilo, a word that means a castrated man, who was in charge of the soldiers of Pharaoh, not probably a general, but maybe a palace guard. And it begins in verse 1. Iosif they katinekthi is Egypton, and Joseph was carried down to Egypt. Ke ek tisa to afton petefries, and Potiphar acquired him. O evnukos Pharaoh. So here we see he was a eunuch. Evnukos of Pharaoh. O archimagiros, the chief guard. Anir Aegyptios, an Egyptian man. Ek Hiron Ismaeliton, from out of the hands of the Ishmaelites. So Potiphar purchased Joseph. He was a chief guard. Like I said, it's not like a general, but I think it was of the palace probably. I katigagon afton aki, the ones that led him there, the Ishmaelites. Verse 2, Ke in Kyrios meta Yosef, and the Lord was with Joseph. Ke in anir epitenchanon, and he was a man succeeding. And I put the thing, succeeding in things. Ke ageneto ento iko parato kyrio aftu to Aegyptio. And he was in the house by his master, the Egyptian. Verse 3, Idi they o kyrios aftu, oti o kyrios in met aftu. And his master, here we see the kyrios, and again, all caps for the Lord, because it was the tetragrammaton in the Hebrew, the Yahweh, or Jehovah. And his master saw that the Lord was with him. Ke osa ean pi, and whatever as much as he should do. Kyrios evodi entes hersin aftu. The Lord prospered the way by his hands. So whatever he should do. Evodi, we have, remember, ev, I mentioned before, is always good whenever it's in before another word. Odi, we have odos, a road, an odometer, it's a derivative. So together prospered the way in his hands. In verse 4, Ke evren Iosif harin enantion to Kyriu aftu. And Joseph found favor before his master. Ke avirestise afto, and he was well-pleasing to him. Ke katestisan afton epi to iku aftu, and he placed him over his house. Ke panta osa in afto, edoke dia hieros Iosif. And all as much as was in his, he gave through the hand of Joseph. So Joseph was completely in charge of this man's household. He was probably fairly rich. Ageneto they meta to katastathine afton epi to iku aftu. And it came to pass, after placing him over his house, ke epi panta osa in afto, and over all as much as was his, ke evlogis se kyrios ton ikon to Aegyptiu, thea Iosif, that the Lord blessed the house of the Egyptian on account of Joseph. Ke eganithi evlogia kyriu in pasi tis iparkosi afto into iko. And he became a blessing. Here we have ev, again, remember, is good, and logia, the logic, a blessing for his Lord in all as much, in all his possessions in his house. Ke into agro, should have highlighted that. 68, agriculture is a derivative. And in to agro aftu, and in his fields. Actually, it should be in his field in the singular. You need to change that for the second edition. Verse 6. Ke epetripse panta osa in afto is hiras Iosif. And he committed to care all as much as was his into the hand of Joseph. Ke uk ithi ton kat iaftu. Uthan. And he did not know the things about his own, not one. Plin tu artu u istian aftos, except the bread which he ate. Ke in Iosif kalos to ithi. And Joseph was good to the sight, a kaleidoscope, a good view, a kali, good. Ke oreos ti opsi, svodra, and handsome in appearance. We have a biopsy, synopsis, opsy, has to do with appearance of something. Verse 7, Ke ageneto meta tarimata tafta, and it happened after these things. Ke epevalen igeni tu kiriu aftu, tus aphthalmus aftis epi Iosif. The wife of his master put her eyes upon Joseph, ophthalmus, optometrist, ophthalmologist, derivatives. Ke'ipen, and she said, Kimithiti madamu, come to bed with me. Verse 8, O they uk ethalan, but he was not willing. Ipe they ti gineki tu kiriu aftu, and he said to the wife of his master, Io kiriosmu u genoski diame u then into iko aftu. If my master does not know on account of me one thing in his house, ke panta osa estin afto edokan is tas hiras mu, in all as much as is his, he gave into my hands. 9. Ke uke parki enti ihia tavti uthen ektos emu, and that does not exist in this house one thing outside of me. Exo, we have exotic, ektos, outer. I'm sorry, that's not that comes down later. Here, ektos is ecto is something outside of me. Ude ipexirite ap emu, then nor is one thing secretly removed from me, plin su, besides you, diatose gineka aftu ine, on account of you being his wife, ke pos piso torima to poniron tuto, then how should I do this wicked thing? Ke amortisome enantion tu theu, and sin before God. So the wife of Potiphar is trying to seduce Joseph, and like I mentioned, he was the husband was a eunuch, and so this is probably one reason why she was so adamant to have sex with anybody who was in the house, probably. Inika they elali to Iosif imeran ex imeris. And when she spoke to Joseph day by day, ke uki pikusen afti kathevdin met aftis, and he did not obey to sleep with her, to singaneste afti, to be intimate with her. So he refused, and there is no fury as a woman scorned, as saying goes. Joseph was probably says he was very handsome, extremely handsome, and so this woman is now being scorned, and she is going to take it out on Joseph.